Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Happy Monday. Was it a good weekend this weekend? Because it's already Monday. It was Mother's Day weekend this weekend. I hope that you celebrated if you are a mother, and I hope that you celebrated your mother or the memory of your mother, of course, right? We definitely all have had a mother. Um, Good or bad, who knows, right? It's like how the cookie crumbles. Mine is very good. And I was able to see her yesterday with my sister, which was lots of fun. And in the morning, I went, as I told you I would, to the huge flea market in this part of the country. Sorry, I'm fussing. I'm fussing with the thing. I can see my phone stand back there. I've got some stuff prepped, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Went to the flea market this weekend, the Elephant's Trunk, and it was fantastic. Because if you recall, and I think it might be the same story for you, there has been torrential rain nonstop in this part of New England anyway. It's been depressing. So, yeah, so Saturday it was supposed to be super rainy and windy, and it was rainy in the morning, but then in the afternoon it was actually nice. So that was a nice surprise. And then Sunday, the flea market was very nice. It was, when you go to a flea market, it's, usually outside. Some of them are inside, and I love that too, because then you don't have to worry about sunburn and, and being uncomfortable and sweaty and all of that stuff. But I just got out of the shower. I'm still soaking wet. Um, this is outside, and you know how when you're outside, it's a wonderful thing to be there in the early morning, as we were, the whole family. The kids got up and we're out of the house by like 7:30, I think by 7, which is unheard of in these parts. So they were feeling very Mother's Day ish, and they were very obliging because they knew how much I wanted to get to the flea market for the first time this year. So they were out, and of course I also said to them, I think there's going to be vintage video games there. So that did it. Boom, out of bed. It's possible. Now I know it's possible. And it's like an hour away, but when you get there early, it's so chilly. It feels so good. I mean, there's a million people there. When I say early, there had already been people there for 2 hours, right? So that all makes me nervous because you know how I get panicked and in scarcity mode and all that. People wheeling around with these, barrows. What are they called? Wagons, with these wagons loaded with like beautiful old paintings and wicker baskets and things. It's like, oh, dang it. Those aren't things I would have bought, right? Because I have to really choose what I'm going to spend money on. But it was just like, wow, they got some good stuff. But it gets hot fast, even at 60 or 70 degrees with the direct sun and no movement in the air, no wind at all. Oh, I thought I was getting sunburned a few times. It was like just not quite ready for it. But it was a wonderful time. And I did see some rugs. And, I didn't get the rugs that I saw. And I saw only a couple. And one of them was, I should have taken pictures, but I felt awkward because there wasn't other people around at the time. And I just felt like, oh, let me take a picture and then, piss off. Sorry, I was trying to think of a better phrase, but just, see you later. So I didn't. But one of them was a geometric, which was very average. It was like blues and reds. It was not the kind of thing I would typically go for. But you know what made it almost compelling? $40. So that was good. That almost made it compelling. Um, it was in a booth with all of this beautiful, fine, like old pine furniture, like old, not like, Ethan Allen, but like nice old antique furniture. She was obviously not a rug dealer. She was an antique dealer, like of furniture. And when I saw the rug, I thought, oh, I want this. And I thought, well, $40 isn't much, but it's still $40, right? Because I never have that much money to spend. So I thought, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. And then I thought, uh-oh. I think in my mind, the thing that is making this rug, because it was a pretty plain geometric and it wasn't particularly old, the thing that's making this rug really exciting for me is its surroundings, like the setting. Seeing it there with all of that beautiful early American furniture was like, I think my brain wanted the scene, but then when I pictured taking the rug out and all of the other rugs that I haven't been able to display and I really do need to sell because there's just not room for them. Like in any house that we would ever be able to afford, there's not room for all of the rugs that I have. And I'm thinking, is this going to be one of them? Because I don't have a cute corner of the room with early American furniture and a hutch and like a dowry chest to put with this rug, right? And I thought, Yikes. The rug alone is kind of like, nah, but the rug with all that furniture was like house beautiful. And I thought, good thing I'm awake enough, right? Coffee did its job. Good thing I'm awake enough to make that kind of distinction, because it's not really the $40 in this case. It's the too many rugs in this case. So I saw that. I'm going to say hello in a minute. I can see a bunch of people popping on. I saw that. Did I see another rug? I don't know. That might have been the only hooked rug. I think that was the only hand hooked rug. I saw some commercial rugs, with the kind of like monk's back on them. That might have been the only rug. Interesting, right? But, well, I did find this. And is it in good shape? Oh, no, it's in terrible shape. Guess how much this was? It was in a box. I mean, it has water damage. It doesn't smell at all, though. That's the back of it. And yeah, it's got like a little nick out of the top. I'm probably going to just pin it in a shadow box frame. Maybe I'll do like a Cape Cod vignette. Oh, you know what? I think I will. I think I'll pin it into like oh my God. I'll pin it into a shadow box. And then when we go to the Cape next week, I will maybe collect some shells and put them around the edges. Ooh, you know what else would look nice is if I made it look like a sailor's valentine and I put shells around it. Maybe not as many as a sailor's valentine. I'm not looking for like a 2-week project, but maybe like some pearls off broken necklaces and stuff. Wouldn't that be a nice little Cape Cod vignette? And maybe anything else that I see on the Cape, because it's not in good shape. $2. $2. I forgot I didn't tell you. $2. So obviously for $2, I took it. This little guy's about to fall off right here. So I'm going to be real careful about this one. It is a rat-a-tat-a-tooey for sure, but it's so cute, isn't it? Who wouldn't have bought that for $2 is the question. I mean, like crime against rug hookers. So let me put that up here. Now that's making me nervous. $2. And this was, I buy these way too much. What am I going to do with them? I don't know. $5. But look at the colors on this thing. This is a braided wool, so this isn't particularly old. But when I looked at the colors, it got all dreamy to me. I was picturing like a night in like 1980. I don't know if you can tell, but these are like magenta, more pink than red. So there's a lot of purple in here. I was picturing a night like in 1985, and sitting. This is in my imagination, right? This hasn't happened. Sitting like in a rocking chair by the fire with a pile of like country living magazines of that era, and this little thing being like on the side table with maybe a little candle on it or something like that, and a little notebook or sketchbook. And as soon as I think something like that, I have to buy it, because now I buy the vision that I just created, or I lose that picture in my head. There's so much stuff in my head that's crazy, but it's beautiful on both sides. And for $5, come on. It's pretty, isn't it? I do love braided stuff, and I do have this idea, and I've told you this before. Here, let me do this. I do have this idea. I need to keep more. Oh, here's some paper. I do have this idea that I think is a great idea that I do see as a future project. And we've been wanting to switch houses, so I'm not going to do anything really crazy until we do switch houses. But I was thinking about, because I have so many of those kinds of rugs, I was thinking about doing something either for the floor or wall like this. That's like that I attach all of the different little braided chair pads that I have and make it into a shape. Now, is this a Jack Tripper? Like, because it's got little holes in it? Yeah, it is. So I would put it in a low traffic area, maybe under a table, but it would be a good way to use all of those little guys and to put their colors together. Even something for the wall would be quite beautiful, with big ones, small ones, right? With irregular ones. Could be really fun. It really could be fun. So anyway, I was thinking about that, and I haven't lost the thread. I'm coming back. And I bought these, and these are, do you remember these? Again, pictures in my head. I don't know how healthy this is, but you remember these, because I remember my grandmother with this, right, doing this, like, and usually like this. Sometimes it was behind, but usually like this for like leaving the house, right? Just in case her curls, I don't know what. They were so small, and she had short hair, but always. So I don't know if you can see, but this one is kind of pink and yellow, right? It's very transparent. It's pink and yellow. This one is mostly, shouldn't have got this one. This is like a solid. These were $5 each, so I felt like that's a lot for this. But this is green with some white in it, so it's not completely solid. This one is white, printed with little flowers. Can you see the little flowers? And this one is green with painted flowers. And so together there's four of them. So this represents $20, which seems like a lot for this. But this is a lot of hooking material. Or it's a bridal veil. Or it's a strange bridal. This is a lot of hooking material. And I have more. I have a lot more of this stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about, because these are like lime greens and citrus limes and a little bit of white. I'm thinking about like the Halloween book and these limey green colors, and possibly doing like a kind of candy color palette and using this stuff in the trees, because it'd be a little bit see-through, and it's just pretty. It's just something else to hook with. I really love it. I might, if I can't think of something to do with it for the Halloween book, I might save it for the laundry line book. And you know, all of these little kerchiefs from days, they're all vintage, from days out in the motor car, covering up one's hair with the red lipstick, right? My grandmother wore that too. And one of these little kerchiefs, having a day out. So to me, this represents like 4 days out of people in the 50s and 60s. And then I bought, I'll let you peek in here. One lady had all of this fancy, like fancy fiber yarn. And I think the whole thing was like, it might have been 30, which probably was too much. But, you know, I didn't want to be a jerk, because I know some of these are not the ones from like Michael's Joann's. These are much nicer ones. And she had some really nice brands in here. Stuff like this is not complete, but look at how metallic that is. Stuff like this, you know, these are the Dream brand. I got a few of those. These are really nice, and I was thinking about them for, maybe I should have gotten more actually. I was thinking about them for the Halloween book, you know, because they're nice fancy fibers, really nice with all the metallic. This brand, not this brand, but this look with the wrapped gold, you sometimes see it. I don't know if you have Ocean State Job Lot, but they're often there for like $1, $2. But oh, and this one was super metallic. I think I got 2 of those. I should have got more of those. Anyway, and there's this one that was kind of like a scrubby texture. You can see that, right? How scrubby that is. It's not a full skein, but I thought this could do like a tree trunk or something like that, you know? So I got colors. Oh, and this one's a pretty wild. I always like these really long eyelash ones. It's stupid green screen is playing up, but it's green and purple. And I thought this is great for like, you know, a tree coming down. Maybe not for fall, because we want different colors. But anyway, I thought those were good finds, you know. So I didn't go crazy. I didn't buy any early American furniture. I didn't end up getting any rugs. But, you know, my favorite thing to buy, and maybe you're the same, is stuff that like you can keep and use later, like supplies, right? When you buy supplies, you don't have to feel guilty about it, because you're like, well, I'll just think about it and dream about it, and excuse me, I'll come up with something to use this for, and it'll be so exciting when I do. So I need it, you know? And then you can justify spending a little bit here and there on these things that you know that you'll use later, right? Super, super fun. All right, let's see. Let me say hi to everybody. Sorry that I went into my tailspin right there. Linda, great to see you this morning. April, great to see you this morning in Illinois, and Linda in New Jersey. Kaz, great to see you. Good morning. A beautiful day in Wisconsin. Oh, I bet. And I want to hear about your time this weekend. I'm going to listen to the show while I assemble my new Gorilla garden hose reel. My new Gorilla garden hose reel. Okay. So I think I got that locked in. That's a weird sentence. I love it. I think it's actually a hose reel, right? Sounds great. Sounds great. If it's a good day, might as well be outside getting that stuff done, right? Rita, great to see you. Catherine, great to see you. Catherine is the founder of The Feast today, because she is the one who sent me this great book that we're looking at today. And we probably won't get to all of it today. But Catherine, founder of The Feast, thanks again for sending this amazing surprise. I'm so excited to look at it together. You are in Missouri, where the hummingbirds have arrived at the feeders. That's a great landmark thing, isn't it? The hummingbirds arrived at the feeders. That's a great way to mark the year, isn't it? That's a great idea for a rug, like the wheel of the year. Ooh, I kind of like that. I'm trying to think of, like, here it might be like black squirrel appears in the backyard. Is a great landmark for us at my mom's house because he tends to come later than the other squirrels, and he always comes alone. Little black squirrel. He's so cute. He's like a tiny cat. Here, for me, it's usually when the bunnies show up, and the bunnies still have not shown up. Might be because there's too many foxes and stuff in the neighborhood this year. Maybe they know. But yeah, I like to hear those pretty lyrical ways of describing your year. It's like when someone posts on Facebook, and I try not to read them because it's not a good use of time. Like, tell me in 1 year how old you are, and someone will say like, I don't know, like rotary phone dialing old, or like there's still a prize in the Cracker Jacks old, or something like that. And it reminds me of that. Like, tell me how you know it's spring in like one sentence in your neck of the woods. That's a way more fun exercise. Karen, great to see you. Good morning in sunny Colorado, enjoying the beautiful weather in your new catio. The Katie's just celebrated their 1 year birthday, right? Congratulations. They are so cute. Mercedes, is it Mercedes? One of them had a Shakespearean name. Uh, Remind me. They are so cute. Ryan, great to see you back from vacay to Alaska. How was it? So I can finally catch the show again. Peace and love to you too. Was it wonderful? Of course it was wonderful, right? That was a silly question. Great to see you. Welcome back. And April, good morning. Glad to catch you too. I'm so happy you're there. Robin, good morning. Hello in sunny Wisconsin, up there with Kaz. And Catherine, great to see you in Southern California. Good morning to you. Kirsten in Vermont, I will see you the day after tomorrow on Wednesday. Good to see you now, though. Lisa, great to see you in Pennsylvania. And there are your guesses. Yeah, even $2. Crazy, right? Ruth, great to see you. And Richard, hello to you both this morning. Any idea if it's commercial or unique? I think it's commercial, but I am not sure. It's very, very small. You know, the thing about this is it's not a chair pad, right? It's way smaller than a chair pad. It's smaller than my hand. Um, I don't think it's a commercial. I'm sorry. I don't think it's a. I think it's a commercial pattern. I'm just trying to picture what it would be for. Usually, this size that's between like a coaster and a chair seat is called a candle mat size. I don't see any traces of there being a candle mat on it. And it is like, what do you do with a piece this size? It's piece fell off. Okay, it's a tiny piece. That's okay. It's a tiny piece. You know, this is going to be a tough one. I think it's tiny. I think I'll make a video of securing this, you know, because when I look at it, I'll look at it really closely. You can kind of see when you open up the loops just a tiny bit. Probably can't. I'm holding it at a weird angle. I can get maybe tiny nails in between, tiny with tiny heads, just to get it secure on something. It might be that there's a little more loss while I could sew it on, you know what, maybe I'll do that. That's what I'll do. I will sew it carefully. That's what I'll do. Forget nails, onto a backing fabric and then mount it into a shadow box frame. And then I can put all my seashells and broken pearls, which I always pick up bags of like broken jewelry at thrift stores. I can do all the pearls around the edges, different sizes, maybe even different colors of pearls, like black pearls too and gray pearls. Wouldn't that be so nice? You know, I always wanted to do this thing, and I just reminded myself about it. Years ago, I don't know if I ever told you this, but you knew I was a tour guide years ago. I was supposed to have my own TV show. This was like years ago, right when I had the kids, and yeah, it was all set. Things went off the rails. We won't talk about that because it's really bad memories, but things went way off the rails. But yeah, there were already channels, like really big channels, that were shopping the show, and we were recording content and everything. And I was a well-known tour guide in those days, and so I was writing the plan for the show, and I thought, well, I'll just do the show for 1 or 2 seasons, and then I'll introduce some other tour guides who are already my friends and already fantastic. I'll introduce them as main people. It was like a reality show about being on a tour bus, and it was an elimination show because elimination shows were very big at that time. And I thought, I'll just do this for a few seasons, and then I'll just pass the entire thing onto a different tour guide who's a friend and awesome, and they can pick up and run with it, because I wanted to stop and have babies and do that. but it was a great idea. And I was writing all the episodes for it, and we were like critiquing them and going over them. And I had a lot of power over what would be in each episode because I was the only one. The investors had no experience touring. I was the only one who really knew. And I had created this one episode where the bus was meant to be, well, the group was meant to be on Nantucket. We couldn't get the bus over there. You can get the bus up to Martha's Vineyard, but not to Nantucket. So we were going to separate from the bus for this one episode and take boats. There's a speedboat that goes to Nantucket. So take the small boat that doesn't take vehicles. And when they arrived on Nantucket, because of its whaling history and all in Sailor's Valentines, they were going to do a workshop on making a Sailor's Valentine. And then their challenge for the day, their elimination challenge, which I always hated that aspect of it, but it was just the nature of shows. Like 20 years ago, everything was elimination. And the challenge was going to be on the beach where we were going to buy, because you can buy these oysters with pearls in them. And you don't know what color pearl it's going to be, but you can buy them, or at least you could back then. So we were going to order like hundreds of them and bury them in the sand and have people go out onto this private piece of beach and dig for the oysters. And then they would pull them up and be cracking them open. And it would be like one of them would be or X amount of them would be special, like the roses on The Bachelor. And if you got this color, you could stay. And if you got the wrong color, you had to go. So it was like a luck-based thing, but it was so cool. And I thought, what a fun thing, not in those circumstances, but what a fun thing to be on a beach on Nantucket, digging through the sand, like with your hands or with shovels or whatever, and pulling up oysters and cracking them open and finding a beautiful pearl inside. I've even seen this at flea markets here because Jocelyn's done it. They had them. I'm just remembering at a flea market in Mansfield, Connecticut. There was a lady a couple summers ago who had these things, and you could buy an oyster and crack it open, and there was a pearl inside. And then she would drill a hole through the pearl if you wanted her to and turn it into a necklace. Or you could buy one of these silver cages for the pearl, and she would put your pearl into the cage. That's what Joss did. She got one of the cages and wear it as a necklace. Anyway, who cares? But so fun. So many fun things to do and to think about, right? And I'm just thinking, now I have kids. That would be so funny if I could get a hold of some oysters and put them in the sand at the Cape. They would think, I mean, I've done this before with like a pirate box of treasure, and they bought it, right? They thought it was like from pirates. Interesting. So many things to think about, so many things to do, right? All right, let's get back to this. Yeah, I don't know, Kirsten. It just seems too good to be hand-drawn, but I could be wrong about that. I have so many other things to tell you, but some of them I have to keep secret because I made a major discovery this weekend, and I'll tell you all about it when I shape it out. It is like the biggest accidental rug story I've ever tripped into. I will share it as soon as I can. I promise. It's tempting, but let me just hold so nobody else gets a hold of it if I open my mouth, you know. All right. Greetings from sunny Missouri. Sunny for a change. I know it, right? I'm slowly realizing you are saying night and a chair, not night and a chair. Night and a chair. Yeah. Well, night with a K in a chair also sounds very romantic. April, that's cute, Tiana. I would also like cute hanging on the wall. Yeah, it would also look cute hanging on the wall. It would. April, that is cute. Okay, yes, doesn't need a chiffon scarf. Hi, yes, who doesn't need a chiffon scarf? Absolutely. And they're a little bit stiff. So they would hook really well, these little sheer scarves, like scarves for your hair. They would hook really well because they have a lot of body because they're so stiff. So, and they would be a little bit sheer, you know. I'm really excited to hook with that. Judy, good to see you. They could be interesting to fill out a product. They could be interesting to fill out a proddy. Absolutely. They would be beautiful in a proddy because all of their little edges would be sticking up, so soft and sweet. They would be very full in a proddy, wouldn't they? You know, you could combine these vintage scarves with tulle, Tulle, right? That kind of tulle from the craft store, because tulle is available in a Brazilian colors, right? And if you combine those, it would be a very full, very lush feeling, very tactile proddy piece. That's a great idea, and it would be very easy on your hands too, wouldn't it? That's a great idea. I love that, Judy. Yep. And April says, might be stating the obvious, but with some of the white sheer headscarves, ooh, would make ghosts. You know, they would make great ghosts. They would make great ghosts. Well, you know, and I do have white from past times when I was collecting. I usually only buy these scarves if they're like $1. I bought these at $5 because I was like a little crazy. You know, I was like in crazy mode. And I bought a shirt from this woman too. And I liked that some of them were painted, but they would make great ghosts. You know, this one is white with the printing on it. This would make a great ghost because it would look like this ghost was like wearing a patterned ghost sheet, right? So, oh, it would be really fun if I could, it would be really fun if I could find some more white ones that were printed because, oh my God, yes. Judy, was that you who just made that comment? April, oh my God. So you know what? I'm going to save these yellow ones and lime ones for Halloween stuff. And I'm going to save this white one somewhere else because now while I'm gone on the Cape, and I'll give you the dates for that because I'll be gone for a little while. It's that annual trip I make to the Cape. I'm going to be looking for more white ones that are printed that look like the ghosts are dressed up in clothing, but very faintly, right? Oh, April, that's a great idea. It seems obvious, but I hadn't thought of it. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'll put a special note to you on that project when I finish it. And Cass says, yes, I don't like to get things that you have to assemble with little screws and so on. No, I know it, right? I don't either. That's a nightmare. Marilyn, great to see you. Great to see you. I'm getting such a slow start. I'm sorry. My mouth is running too much. Portia and Chevy. Okay, I knew it was a Shakespearean name. Portia and Chevy. How cute. Happy first year anniversary to those sweet little kitties. Sharon, good morning. Great to see you. Dave, good morning. Great to see you. Sunny and bright and feeling all right. Makes a big difference, doesn't it? The weather makes a big difference. To me anyway, I think to you too. Ruth says, so nice to see the sun after it's been so rainy. It's a nice change. Oh God, it is. Yeah. And Jessica, great to see you. Good morning. Good morning. And Diane, great to see you, sunny in Illinois. It's so funny coming into the middle of your stories. It is confusing. The stories are crazy, I know. Chiffon would also make great clouds. Yeah, you know, something to think about because 'tis the season for shopping outside and flea markets and yard sales and all that because they are going to hook up a treat. They really are. And in other like $5 each, that's like a elephant's trunk, like vintage clothing seller. And I got sucked into it. But you see these things all over the place, and they're usually like 50 cents, at least around here. So be thinking about that because as we move toward that laundry line hooking book and hooking with clothing, there's some great stories in some of these old, you know, items of clothing like headscarves. I could do a great chapter on headscarves, and I'm sure I have pictures of my grandmother wearing her headscarves because she always did. I guess they put those pin curls in their hair, remember? And then and they were so tight to the head, they wanted them to stay perfect. And that's probably why she put a little scarf on every time she went outside because she wanted the curls to stay like really tight. So cute. I've been hooking using chiffon and bias tape maker, which keeps it rolled. Oh, okay. So you're putting chiffon through the bias tape maker, which keeps it rolled up nicely. And Diane, are you particular? So bias tape maker is something that looks like, in case you're not a person who sews, it looks like this. It looks like a little basket. It's metal, and it's got two parts here that actually roll under. So you fold a piece of fabric on the big side, and you force it through, and it folds it on this side and this side, and it comes out like a smaller strip that's folded over on each side like this, right? And then you could either sew it down here, or you could open it up and sew it on this seam, flap it over, and then stitch it down on one side, right? It's to make bias tape. Diane, are you real particular with the bias tape maker about putting stuff on the diagonal, or are you just like, no, I just want I just want the edges hidden? Because when you just want the edges hidden, see, this wouldn't be good for hooking wool if you're thinking, oh, I'm getting a bias tape maker, because they're dead cheap. They're like this big. They come in a lot of different sizes. You wouldn't want to put wool through a bias tape maker if you were hooking. It would be good if you were doing applique, because you would hide your edges. There'd be no raw edges. They'd both be tucked under by the bias tape maker. You put it through the bias tape, maker, and you're on the other side with your iron, right? The side where it comes out, as you pull this thing along and it makes it with the sides folded under, you sit there with your iron and you press as you go, right? You press as it comes out of the bias tape maker. You press the edges down, otherwise they don't stay down. You have to press it with your iron. So if you were doing that with regular wool, the wool would be too thick to hook with. But if you think about other materials that you could use that are too thin, and you run them through the bias tape maker, if you get one of the really small bias tape makers, it makes much smaller tapes. A lot of them make tapes that are an inch or 3/4 of an inch. You would want one that makes like a 1/2 an inch, right? Like a really small, and it would still be a primitive size. I don't think they go much smaller than a 1/2 inch, but depend if it's chiffon, right? That's perfect for hooking right underneath the base fabric. So basically I'm holding the chiffon underneath with the maker. Oh, I see. You're holding it. Oh my God. You're holding it right under your hooking as you pull. Oh my God. That's insane. You're holding the bias tape maker under the surface of your hooking, and so it's feeding you a piece that's folded up nicely, and you're just pulling it up as you go. Holy mackerel. Finger pressing underneath. Okay, so you're removing the step of ironing, which makes a lot of sense with chiffon because you could make big black burnt holes into chiffon that way. Ooh, interesting. Oh, that is a fantastic idea. Thank you. That is a fantastic idea. Oh my God. April says a lot of those ladies used to get their hair, you're right, done professionally once a week. You're right. That is what they did. So they didn't want, I mean, it's so funny because when you look at pictures of them now, like sometimes I look at pictures of my grandmother, she's like my age, but she looks like she's like 105, you know, with like the hairstyles and the red lipstick and everything. I guess it was the thing at the time. This is very exciting, the finger pressing. I hope that you all understand, if you're interested in that, the way that I just described that, because that is a great idea. And that really speaks to the idea of working with basic materials like clothing, scarves, recycled, repurposed, green materials, right? That really speaks to that. And that is the theme of our episode today. Hook into the past, the story of mat making in Northeast England. And of course, at this period, and what we'll be talking about in this book, this is when rug hooking in this part of England was truly a poverty craft. And you would be using absolutely anything that you could find to cut up and make into a rug, either a hooky rug, which is obviously a hooked rug, or a proddy or proggy rug, right? They tend to say proggy in northern England as opposed to proddy, which is funny because proddy comes from prodding it through, like pushing it through, prodding it. And it's weird to lose the word prod and to turn it into proggy because it sounds like ribbit, but whatever, it is what it is. It's proggy and hooky that we're talking about today. Diane says, I've been using the 1/4 inch. Oh my God, the 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch sizes. Works great and clean. I'm ordering one of those. That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I'm super excited about that. Thank you for saying that. I love that idea. Just another very inexpensive tool, a bias maker. And I'm saying bias maker, and you can see it in the thread. If you're not a sewing person, you're thinking, I think I can use this for this material I have. Just want to be sure you know what we're talking about because it's very easy to get at like any craft store, quilting stores. For those small sizes, those are unusual sizes for clothing purposes. So they're like normal sizes for like finishing off a scarf or something small, like handmade and small. But for clothing, they're typically bigger. So it might be that with these smaller sizes that it's easier to find them online. But it depends on where you live as well. P.S. I cut the chiffon to 1 inch, okay, to use the 1/4 inch bias maker. Okay, that makes great sense. Thank you so much. I love it. So this book, Hook into the Past, again, thank you, Catherine, was a great surprise and gift that came through the mail for me. We have, in past episodes, looked at the book that was published by the Beamish Museum, and that is also in northern UK, Beamish, Beamish. Now, this book is a little bit different. This is a very, I'll show you another time the cover. This is a hard to find book because, Catherine, I couldn't find it. So I was all the more grateful that you shared it, and I'm sure everybody here is very grateful that you shared it. because oh no, Rita says, Lord have mercy, I just found a fox in my garage. See you next time. Oh man. Rita, it never ends over there, and she's got so many animals in the yard who come and visit. Gotta get that fox out of there. Sweet little thing. Dear, oh dear. Lord have mercy. She is so funny. She is so funny. Um, this was a great find, and receiving this made me think, you know, how many more books are there that are on rug making that are published by tiny presses that we never see, like either in the United States or abroad? So this book was published by Tyne, Tyne Bridge Publishing. There is no year on it. Edited by Ellen Fatian, and stories collected by Room for You Hospital Crafts, Hospital Arts. Sorry, Room for You Hospital Arts. So right here. So this is obviously a UK organization. This is like a needle in a haystack, right? This is like a Brigadoon book. It appears once every 100 years when the mists clear and there's an opening in the woods, and this book is floating, right, in the hole in the opening, and you reach for it and then it closes again for another 100 years. It is hard to find, but Catherine found it. And if there's more books like this, please let me know. Um, it's an amazing book. I want to start with the image on, say, I'm going to give you the thrust of this book. There's a ton of color images. There's a ton of black and white images. For those of you who love history, it is a heavy history book. Catherine, from you. I saw that. I just used it as a bookmark. Heavy history book, which is fantastic because it's about the history of people who made these rugs, Proddy and hooking rugs. So, a lot of history, a lot of photographs I have never seen before of people hooking. I'll share some of them. And not a ton of pictures of finished rugs. It's more about the story of doing the hooking, why, where, who did it, and just incredible vintage photos, like super, super, super rare vintage photos. Um, and how they did it, like how they created designs. That's a big part of this book. And newer designs, right, based on the same techniques, prodding and hooking. It's really unusual. So, and a big emphasis on the old tools and on the fact that this was a poverty craft, meaning a thrift craft, meaning the people who were making these rugs were economically in very big trouble. And these rugs were for warmth. These rugs were for utility. These are not decorative rugs made by people who had free time, right? This is not this story. So it is a beautiful sort of melancholy moment in time. Um, oh, thanks, Catherine. Um, let me show you, hang on, sorry. Let me show you, I think I put this image, yes, I put this image in the front, and this was our thumbnail instead of the cover of the book because, I mean, this image is just unreal. I had never seen this before. This is a painting by Oliver Kilbourn, and that's Kilbourn. Oliver Kilbourn. It's called Progging, with two G's, the Mat. And if you look up Progging the Mat, Oliver Kilbourn, you will find it. There's pictures of this online. You will find it. He was one of the Ashington group of painters. So when I went down the rabbit hole a little bit looking up Oliver Kilbourn, I saw that he had painted quite a number of scenes that depicted daily life in the community and people plying all kinds of trades, not just rug making. So this was one of women, but most of his are men working in iron or whatever, boats, docks, whatever, different things. But this is women working on a mat together on a rug. And I mean, this is just one of the most beautiful images I've ever seen, from the older woman at the mat who is working the middle of it to the younger woman who's working the edge, in the back, and then another older woman who's kind of admiring it as she goes. She might be taking a break, and in the background a kettle is on in the fireplace, right? So also a reminder that these homes are using heat and cooking situations that are coal based, that are fire based, And that means that all of the rugs that have survived, the late 19th century, early 20th century, in northern England, right? It was universally a poverty craft, right? Um, a handful, like I can't even think of more than two people doing rug hooking who were not doing it because of utility, right? That were doing it for art, right? For gallery art. It it was universally done for use, and it would have been done in houses like this where they are using this kind of heating and fire cooking situation, which means there would be smoke always. There would be smoke for always for years, lingering. And for that reason, these rugs become very dark and very dirty quickly, and less desirable as the months and years go by, right? Because the color shift is so pronounced when there's always soot in the air. So this is a huge reason why we don't see a lot of rugs from this place, from this period, because they would definitely, whether you spilled something on them or ripped them or tripped on them or the animals got at them, all of that aside, they would still be dirty because of the way that houses were heated and cooking was being done like in a hearth. And you can't get away from that. All right, smoke discolors rugs as surely as red wine. So it is a beautiful image, and one of the other things I love about the image is the emphasis is the frame, right? There is such a big emphasis in UK hooking. There always has been, and there still is. They are still using burlap, and they are still using frames that look to us to be large needlework frames, right? You would look at this and say, this is a needlework frame. It can be on a stand, mounted to a stand, like permanently attached. You do find needlepoint frames that are not, right? This is just fastened, sewn on to a piece of tape that's stapled or nailed in. And this one is not secured side to side, right? Usually they are. In the Pearl McGowan era, they are secured with pantyhose, east and west. But this one is secured north, south, like top to bottom. And they are always working on a frame that is four pieces of wood banged together, and they will universally balance it on top of other surfaces. That is absolutely what they do, without exception, right? You don't see at this point, early 20th century, in the UK or very often at all, if at all, in the US, frames with stands, right? Sometimes you see a homemade one, but people are typically not using them. People are totally at peace with a frame that looks like this and balancing it over two things, and then and it can be really large, and when you're done at night, you just lean it up against the wall. It's not taking up floor space, and in the evening when there's a little bit of time before bed and you're going to work on it again, you take it out and you just put it over. In this case, it looks like there's an open drawer on one side and a table on another, and that is how it was done. Lisa says, the image reminds me of my aunts working on a quilt when I was little. Absolutely, it has the feeling of a bee, like a quilting bee or a hooking bee. Catherine says, despite grinding poverty and very hard lives, people found solace and joy in making in their community, and many people in the same circumstances. There's certainly a great sense of camaraderie working on a project together, and this book really emphasizes that at this time, right, in northern England, it's very, very depressed. Much of life revolves around the mining life. Lots of mining strikes at that time, right? Lots of strikes in general. In the sort of the British Industrial Revolution was a little bit earlier than in the United States, but there were, as with all big changes, as soon as factories and stuff came in to big cities like London, like Manchester, like Leeds, and then kind of moved to smaller cities, a little bit of mining here, a little bit of industry or manufacture here. It creeps, right? There's sprawl, and in these smaller the suburbs of these smaller but still quite large cities that are typically manufacturing cities in the UK at this time, life completely revolves around these new industries, right? Coal, whatever, railroads, whatever. So, in these communities, you typically get a population of people who have something in common, and that's they're all in the same business. and with very few exceptions. I mean, somebody owns a store, right? And somebody delivers milk. But in most cases, all of the men are working in the same place. And it's just the way that it was. And I think for that reason, when life was good, everybody prospered together. But when life was challenging or really bleak, everybody shared that experience too. It wasn't like these are all working class people. It wasn't like some of them emerged and I'm not going to say something naughty, uh, and became some kind of local royalty. People typically working class, if the region was not doing well or the mine closed or there was an accident or some kind of disaster, some kind of a fire, something went wrong, it affected everybody, and the very nature of everybody being in the same boat meant that they could share their troubles with each other. And that often meant doing things like rug making together, men and women, because it was a way to spend time together. It was therapy. It was a way to sit and talk and get through whatever the shared experience was. Because you wouldn't be lucky if everyone else in town was, their lives were falling apart. It would also be you. So getting together was a big part of life, because even when things were going well and people were making ends meet, it was still a very physical and very difficult life in northern England in the late 19th and early 20th century, right? And even middle 20th century, right? Well, right until we get to the war years, right? And then we see a lot of people going away for war, women taking over men's jobs, right? That's a different conversation. That is a wonderful conversation. But life will change after World War One, but then it's not long before World War Two. And we don't have that history in the United States. We have the history of losing soldiers who went abroad, but we don't have the history of air raids and sitting at home wondering if your house, your lives, your family are going to be wiped out tonight by a bomb, or whether the entire center of your town is going to be wiped out, right? So we don't have that history where we're not only losing a generation of boys, but we're also losing whole villages, like literally overnight. So, the time, this period of time is a little bit later in the 20th century, moving toward the, middle 20th century. This is in everybody's mind in the recent past. And they have not recovered from those war years. And recovery will come late to more remote areas like the North, right? As opposed to, I mean, London obviously was bombed out of its mind, but more people there, more people returned, as soon as the war was over, and recovery happened on a different scale with different amounts of money, different demographic of people, right? More variety of people with different sized pocketbooks, putting it together a lot more quickly. Up north, that wasn't the story. So you get these communities of people who suffer together, who live together, are happy together, celebrate each other's little triumphs, but who also suffer together. I would say, I don't want to be depressing, but more often than not, life was hard. And this book is a beautiful tribute to that life, because it doesn't sugarcoat it, right? It definitely doesn't sugarcoat it. There's lots of beautiful photography, and there's a gorgeous poem at the beginning of it. I want to read you the poem. There's so much photography. We're gonna have to do this another time too, obviously. And then there's all kinds of hooks and horns, right? Horns and bones and things that they're using for prody, even nails, right? Like all of these things could be and were used for prody. So this is a book that in part is technical, but when I say technical, it's got pictures like this, right? It doesn't have illustrations on how to hook, but it is also the most photo rich account of rug making in northern England that I have ever seen. I mean, this has even more photographs than the Beamish book, which is a must-have. You must have the Beamish Museum book. And some of the photos are the same, but not many. This goes much more specifically into it's pretty split, people's lives and how and why they were hooking. So it's an amazing book. But let me read you, because we're already quite late on. And there's a lot of text in this book, and it is sad and romantic, strong history backbone. So this is a beautiful poem. I don't know if we read this before. It didn't sound familiar at all to me Wonder if I should read it. I wonder if it's going to be sad. I don't want to cry as we finish up our show today. Let's see. This is called Mam's Mat by Edna Scott. When the summer months were over and the autumn frosts had come, Mam would sit at our old fireside mat. She'd say, "It's going home." I can't see that mat lasting for much longer, I'll be bound. We'll have to have a new one before Santa Claus comes around. So starting that same evening, she'd sort out, oh, okay, I see. It's going home, like the mat that they had down on the floor was like dying, like it's going home. So she wants to make a new mat before Christmas. So starting that same evening, she'd sort out all our clothes, cut off all the buttons and lace or ribbon bows, and after that would follow many nights of busy snippings, while our old clothes were converted into piles of oblong clippings. Oblong clippings means pieces that are, they're talking about Pradi here. They're not talking about hooking. Pieces like this, little pieces like that, and then you push them through and it's like a square on each, maybe a little bit longer, like that, right? Oblong hookings. Oblong clippings. Then out she'd bring the prodders, which is the spring Pradi tool, Hessian sacks and frame, and we'd all be looking forward to the great mat making game. The pattern would be trellis with dark border round as well, and every little diamond had a different tale to tell. In the clothes we'd worn as we walked through life, backcloths of previous years, a diary worked in clippings of our laughter and our tears, and as Mam worked, she talked about the first few mats she'd done, keeping house for her two brothers, for their parents were both dead. To help her make a mat, her chapel friends all came along, and as they sat there working, they would have a hymn sing-song. Then the next time that they came, her friends might bring along some others, but Mam said she knew that some girls only came to see her brothers. And as I watched her speak, her eyes would grow a kind of haze, and she'd smile into the clipping, saying, "Oh my, those were the days." And in our conversations, I recall that Mam once said how some folks were so poor they'd put their new mat on the bed. I remember feeling thankful that we weren't quite as poor, and when we'd finished our mat, we could put it on the floor. Then after weeks of working, the great day finally came, when to be hemmed and neatened, it was taken from the frame. And in the winter evenings, when we'd finished off our teas, we'd keep warm round the fireside on Mom's mat of memories. Oh, that is so beautiful. It's this whole page here. That is so beautiful. You know, I think that's my favorite poem so far about rug making. I mean, there are so many beautiful ones, but that one is so gorgeous, isn't it? Carol, quilt frames were like that in that time. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and a quilt frame would work just as well, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't mean a hoop frame. I mean like the needlepoint frame. Judy says, I had an epiphany recently about the utility of ladder back chairs when I saw a photo of a quilting frame set up on kitchen chairs. Yeah, in the yard. That's a great thought. On ladder back frames, depending on how high your ladder back chair goes, because some of them, the chair back is quite high and the rungs are quite high. And yes, you could totally put two chairs next to each other like bookends. And if they're the same chair, put one of these kinds of frames right across it, right? It would be this wide as the chair back is wide. But yeah, just like a ladder, because it has feet, unlike a ladder, you could totally do that. What a quaint thing that would be to do too, wouldn't it? I love that idea. I love that idea. That's so romantic, Judy. I think I might try to find two ladder backs like that. And I like the idea of it being able to be different heights. What I don't like for myself is that I know as soon as I do that romantic thing and set myself up that way, it's about every 30 seconds that either the dog barks for me to get up and do something or one of the children call me. And then it would be like, you know, yeah, yeah. But that's my life. That's not your life. But I think I'll do it anyway because it's so old-fashioned and sweet. It's a raccoon. Okay, good news. They are so cute. I was just saying to my kids last night, I said to Teddy, do you remember what a raccoon is called in Dutch? Because he doesn't really remember Dutch because it's been so long since we've lived in the Netherlands. And I said to him, it's called a wasbear, which is a wash bear. Like it translates as a wash bear because they're like, these tiny little things that look like bears that wash all of their food in the water before they eat. It's just that Dutch are very literal people, so cute. Um, yeah, oh, that is good news. I love the idea. I love the epiphany about the Judy, can you make a list of your amazing ideas? I know you tell me. I know you send emails and tell me, don't make a list. I won't be lazy. I'm going to just draw that. That's a great idea because I'm thinking about our laundry line hooking book and something like, let me just draw it out. Something like what Judy's describing would be so great for the laundry line book because it like harkens back to old-timey days and ways. So in other words, if you had two chairs that were the same rung, you could put your thing right here and you sit here, right? However you sit. And if you wanted it a little bit lower, you could put it here. If you wanted it higher, right? Because it'd almost be like a system, like using the ladder backs. It's a really good idea. With 4 chairs, you can have any size frame. With 4 chairs, you can have any size frame. With 4 chairs, you can have any size frame. Oh, I see what you mean. If you put them, like the corners of them on the chairs rather than through the chair back. Huh, with 4 chairs. Ruth says, I'm excited about that project. I plan on hooking my next design after I work. Great. Make sure if you're working on stuff and you're designing stuff for the laundry line hooking book, make sure you take tons of pictures of your supplies, of it while you're working on it, close-ups, because when you make a picture of everybody, not just Ruth, everybody, when you make a picture for me with the book, I will put your picture into the book and I will be so happy and grateful and excited to have your piece in the book. But if you send me more pictures, then I can highlight your piece more. Like if there's more pictures of you working on it and close-ups of it, then I can put more of your piece into the book. And that's great. And that's important, not just for page count, but because, people, you see it once and it's like, oh, that's pretty. And then you turn the page. But when you see several photos, you get really, as makers, since we're makers too, you really get invested in looking at the stages of it. You really get invested in the different parts of it and looking at supplies. I think, like that part of the conversation too, besides the, oh, it looks pretty, now it's finished part. That part's great. But the parts working on it, I think we love those parts too. Barbara says, prim ladder backs are in my barn just waiting for that purpose. Can certainly do a photo using that as a frame. Please do it. Please do that. Please do that. I'm excited about that. I really am. Hey, let's do a couple more little things here before we log off. So, yeah, do that. Lots of photos just mean more conversations for us, and I love that. This is a photo, another person in the Ashington group, which is a group of painters in this part of the UK, right up north. And this person is called James Mackenzie. And we have looked at other James Mackenzie pieces because he painted lots of watercolors of interiors in the sketchbook style, which I think is super charming, of daily life. And in this case, we are seeing 2 floor rugs. Now, it is hard to tell because of the simple designs whether they are hooked or prodded rugs. And, oh, Ruth, we'll see you soon. Have a great day to you, too. I'll probably be on for 5 more minutes. But, yeah, it just gives us an idea of the kinds of rugs that people were making. There were not, in northern England, in the early and middle 20th century, there were not that many places who were stocking finished patterns. You could mail order patterns. Department stores would have commercial patterns for rug making, no matter how you made it, prodded it, or hooked or whatever, same patterns, right? But, or made pom-pom rugs or like locker type rugs or any variation on rug making, right? You could do with the same patterns on burlap, Hessian. So it was a little bit harder to get rug patterns than it was in other places. But people obviously found them and made them up themselves. And it's hard to know which because there are so many variations on patterns too. If you didn't have the materials you wanted to make the rug you had in mind, then you might change the pattern to accommodate the materials you did have. Maybe you don't have enough flower colors, but you have plenty of leaf colors, so there's going to be more leaves. And then when we look at the rugs later, it becomes a difficult question of, is this pattern or not? Because in theory, it looks like it might be, but it's so different underneath. And to this day, we don't have the technology to, and why would we? It's not, all things considered, not super important. We don't have the technology to look under the loops. And I say that because, my sister is like the head of the art restoration department at Yale in the British Arts Museum. And she does x-rays of paintings all the time. And with that technology, you get a perfect image of what is underneath the paint. And if you bring in an old painting and you think, God, isn't this a beautiful painting? But I suspect there's a veneer underneath, right? It's been painted over at some point by someone who didn't realize or didn't care or didn't like it. And sometimes that happens. And the technology there at Yale, which is the state of the art, can show you exactly what is under your painting. And they can remove the top layer safely of the painting at great expense, but they can. And it will become a question of, do you think you're really going to like it when you see it? Because you're seeing a black and white image of it, right? We don't even know what colors it is. Do you think you're really going to like it more if we take the expense of taking this off, your expense of taking it off? Are you actually going to like the picture underneath it more? Do you think? Are you comfortable with that? Because that comes up all the time. And I've asked her, many times, and I always ask her in case technology changes, do you see a way to look under rugs yet? And the reason I ask is because I want to see the pattern under the rug, right? I just want to see what's printed on there to be able to tell if it's scratched out, if there's line drawings in there, if it's a commercial pattern and someone's added something. Technology is not there for that right now. But won't it be great someday if it is? I don't know if there's enough of a need for it for people to be developing that specific thing. But man, I would love to know what's under some of these rugs, Anyway, I'm going to log off in a second, but there's lots of little photos. This one isn't one in my slideshow, but I just wanted to show you because there's lots of photos like this. And again, we are seeing the classic northern UK house with the range, right? And there's going to be like the teapot is on the range. It's going to be making like a soot, some kind of a soot product. This is another frame that's balanced over pieces of furniture. It's just how it was done. I just think it's so beautiful that women had this in common, and there were so many people who were making rugs in this way. Like everybody was making rugs this way in the evenings. And it might make you say, where are all those rugs? And I'll just remind you, they were dirty. They became dirty, they were used on the floor, and they got thrown out. And nobody wants to be remembered generations later about how poor and miserable it was growing up, right? So a lot of these rugs got tossed. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. I want to show you, let me show you one more. And then we'll move on and get going in our days. Another beautiful photograph. This is 1932, the Miles family of Ashington. And Ashington, of course, is a town. The Miles family, and you can see two women and this cute little button working on a Pradi rug. So they are using the Pradi spring tool and pulling up Pradis. So the oblong little rectangles they were talking about earlier in the poem, you cut tons of rectangles like confetti. And then with this form of Pradi, you're not prodding it, you're not pushing it down, you're pulling it up. So you're using a pull-up tool that looks like needle nose pliers. You're sticking the nose through the backing, or you're pushing just the edge of your material through the backing and pulling it up to the surface. And yes, the baby looks absolutely precious. That is such a cute face. Has her shoes on the rug. I know. She looks like she's going to fall off, though, poor little thing. But they look like they're having a great time, don't they? I mean, it looks like such fun. It's great to have a book like this. I'm sorry. I forgot to delete the last show, so it keeps defaulting to that. This is a wonderful book, and we haven't even scratched the surface of it. Some beautiful images coming up. So I have to see how my week is going to work out. We have a lot more to do there because, listen, on Wednesday, what was that? Glasses. On Wednesday, I am heading up to Vermont and we talked about this earlier, but I'm just reminding you, for the Green Mountain Show. So I think I'll do a recorded video because then I have more control over it. I'm always afraid I'm going to say something naughty or react or say something I don't want to have live, you know. Not that I don't trust myself, but, you know, it might be that I'm also helping hang some stuff or getting some stuff done if they're not quite there yet. So it might be a chaotic video. So I think I'm going to do a recorded video, and that will be Wednesday. And again, the Green Mountain Guild kindly invited me to come up there on Wednesday before the Green Mountain Show, Vermont, is open, so that I can record a video for you and for Tigger before there's a lot of people there running around making noise and just physically getting in the way of what we're trying to show. So it'll be a great video of the rugs that are in that Green Mountain Show. I will be up there all day Wednesday doing that, and then I will stay over with Kirsten, who lives in Vermont, on Wednesday night. And Kirsten and I will record some videos on Wednesday p.m. and Thursday because, you know, Kirsten does a lot of designing for Ribbon Candy Hooking. She's been in all of the books. She's very present with the Magpie Times with Karen Garby, and she's very involved in the business. She's part of Ribbon Candy Hooking. So I want to visit with her and do some videos with her talking about her design work, her pieces, her techniques, because it's very, very different than mine. So over the course of Wednesday into Thursday, I will be doing a lot of videos, and you will be seeing those videos starting on Wednesday night. I will post the one of the Green Mountain Show. So you'll be seeing that then, but I'm going to have to see how the rest of the week shakes out. I should be with you on Friday, and my plan is to be with you on Friday. And since that is the case, we should be finishing this book at coffee time on Friday, because the following week is the week I go to the Cape. And I'll have to tell, not until Thursday though, so I'll have to see how that works out too. But yeah, there's a few things. When I'm on the Cape, starting from May 22nd to June 7th, right? So that's just over 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days. And so I will be missing in action during that time. So I will put a note up on Ribbon Candy Hooking. If you order stuff during that time, you know I will do it as soon as I get back, right? As soon as I get back. And I do appreciate you ordering stuff while I'm away. I appreciate you ordering stuff in general, right? Because it's a business that needs to keep going, and I'm always worried about that part of it. But just know there'll be a little delay, because this is the only long vacation I take a year. Travel a lot, but it's usually rug hooking related. This is like a family vacation. Although you know that I will be recording videos that are here and there. As I see rugs, as I find stuff, as we go to outdoor flea markets, you know, I will be recording content for you. And I will be back at Pat's, the White Cat in Katuitt. I'm sure I'll be there, and I'll do some photos or a video or something, and you'll hear from me for sure. You won't wonder, where is she? You know, whatever happened to Baby Jane. You won't be thinking that. You'll know where I am, but I'll just remind you that there won't be live shows during that time. So that is May 22nd to June 7th. So I think after that, I think we have to plan our next gallery night, because is it too short notice? When did we do our last gallery night? Shannon said, when should we do the next one? I feel like, did we do the last one? We did the last one 2 weeks ago. I think we should finish this book for this Friday. And then we should plan our next gallery night for the Friday I come back. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think that's the 13th, Friday the 13th, I think will be our next gallery night. I know that's miles away. But anyway, that's what's on the calendar. In the meantime, I'll be at Green Mountain, and you are going to love the video that comes out of Green Mountain. It's going to be, I put different glasses on, sorry, confusing. It's going to be beautiful. You can't imagine the rugs that always turn up at Green Mountain. You're going to be you're going to fall off your chair, be sitting somewhere safe when you see the video from Green Mountain. I'll record that on Wednesday for you, and I'll put that up on Wednesday night for you. If you need me in the meantime, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I'll have that posted for you Wednesday. I'll be coming back Thursday, and we will be back on Friday with a conclusion of this book. And then we'll figure out everything about the following week before I go away after that. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Have a great few days. Look out for those videos that will be so inspiring, right? So inspiring to look at. And I will see you in person again on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care, everybody. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything important. Oh, thank you so much.